Hey everybody, I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host. You're listening to The Sound of Tomorrow on WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester. Coming up on the show, we're talking about the scourge of critical race theory being taught in our schools. Just kidding. That's not really the focus of that. We're also talking about clean beauty, which is also a scourge, and flirting. Heather is going to talk about flirting, which is also a scourge. Heather flirting. That's coming up next. But first,
Happy Shark Week, Ross!
happy what?
Shark Week.
Like on the Discovery Channel.
That's right. I
Okay.
sure am excited about Shark Week this year.
You are? Yeah?
Sure thing. Did you know it's the 30th anniversary of Shark Week this year? And they're going to be running all kinds of special programming. I heard they're going to have Alien Sharks Greatest Hits, Cuba's Secret Shark Lair, Guy Fieri's Feeding Frenzy, Shark Tank meets Shark Week, Shark Wrecked, Great White Shark Babies, Sharks Gone Wild, and get this, an adaptation of an existing Discovery property, Naked and Afraid of Sharks.
They are gonna? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And now we can go to the mall again. Do you want to go to Build-A-Bear and we can build a shark at Build-A-Bear?
Oh, I mean, thanks for the invite, but as I learned the hard way that one time, Build-A-Bear doesn't really have my kind of bears. So I don't.
Fair.
Not welcome there anymore, actually.
Happy Rochester Pride, by the way.
Thank you.
But we're talking build a shark at Build-A-Bear.
Yeah, still, I'm going to pass on that.
Oh, I'll buy you a hot pretzel.
Ooh. No, I'm still not going to the mall.
Oh, well, fine. I'll just build a shark for you two. One with a big, big heart. And of course, you can cuddle with it when you come over to watch The Last Sharknado. It's about time. This summer's hot Sharknado property, premiering August 19th.
Heather?
Yes, Ross?
So, The Last Sharknado, It's About Time, premiered in 2018.
It did?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I need you to know that I saw the same Shark Week article on NPR while I was prepping for today's show too. It's a rerun from 2018.
It is. So it is. Shoot. I was really looking forward to checking out Guy Fieri's Feeding Frenzy.
No, you weren't. Everyone knows you're binging Too Hot to Handle right now. That's your thing.
Okay.
That's all you talked about.
I'm not sure everyone knew that, but now they do. I was just trying to be hip and topical.
That is never going to happen for you. Ever. We would like you to stick to stories about your cat.
Yeah, but every week is Cat Week.
Yeah, we know, Heather. We know. I'm sorry, Guy who?
I almost couldn't do it without laughing.
All right.
Oh, I'm sweaty.
Hey everybody, I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host.
And I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power. Welcome
We're here
back
to tell you
Sound of Tomorrow on WAYO LP Rochester.
She beat me to it again.
Oh, so good. She just doesn't stop talking and it's really loud.
The louder, the better. That's how the Space Cadets like it. Don't you, Space Cadets?
That's right.
Just
That's how we advertise the Sound of Tomorrow. They don't stop talking and they're really loud.
Loud and not I've forgotten words I was in I tried to say loud and incestuous, but that's not the word at all. It turns out.
But now I'm definitely changing our show description on iTunes.
Can you believe they let me on the radio?
Yes,
Hey Heather,
I can because they also let me on.
you know what? I'm good. I have some news you might like.
Is news I might like. Are we not delving right into the completely non-fun part of the program?
No, well, okay, so we'll do a fun thing and then we can jump into the non-fun part. You
I
wanna?
love it. Then we'll bring it back with some fun.
Sure. I started watching that you know, speaking of topical, how you're right on the pulse of things. I just started watching Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix, and I know
Hey,
you love you some Archie related properties on streaming and or live television.
I do. What do you think?
Oh, I really like it. Yeah, I figured I would. Mike wasn't sure he would because
Oh
he didn't
no.
really know what it was, but he likes devil stuff. So he gets
Yeah, of course
really
he does.
really excited about devil stuff, and I think he wants the big Baphomet. I think that's how you say that. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but the goat guy.
Yes. No, you said
Um,
it right.
I think he wants to get one of those for the garden, which I don't know what that's
Oh
gonna.
yes.
So that could be a whole thing. I'm a little. I will admit, I like the show. So when I was a kid, I had a book of stories. I wish I could remember what it is because I still have it around somewhere. I'll have to find it. And there was a story. It was just a book of like legends and kind of spooky stories. So it wasn't like a Bible thing. But it
Yes.
made me it creeped me out a little bit about because there was a story about like this goat devil looking guy going around leaving hoof prints or whatever. I don't remember why it was spooky, but I don't remember the details, but it really spooked me out. And I remember having a period of time in my childhood, and it wasn't like some church thing where like, you know, I know some people go through the phase where they're like, I was afraid of the devil because of church. It wasn't anything like that.
Oh
It was just because of the story
no.
in this book. So I will admit to being I'm a little creeped out by I guess people who also are also goats. I don't know why the goat thing, the goat devil thing, it's kind of laughable on the surface. It's like, why does he look like a goat? And I'm sure there are reasons for that. But I find it a little scary, honestly.
Wow. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Something you find scary that completely didn't even faze me.
It's not like I said, objectively, I don't know
Right.
why people got the idea that like, you know what will terrify people into going back to church? Goats.
Yes.
Threaten them with a goat, they will go to church for life. I don't know who came up with that because it's not objectively, it's sort of ridiculous.
No,
Because
I've
goats are
definitely
not scary.
seen they're not. They're in fact really cute.
Yeah, or just silly.
They
I mean,
do. Yeah,
yeah,
they're often silly. They eat a lot of trash. They eat a lot of tin cans.
yeah. So I don't. Again, I'm sure I probably should know the cultural, historical reasons why Satan is a goat.
I
But
know. And you'd think we would both know this. I
yeah,
wonder because goats do have those weird eyes.
they do have weird eyes, but they're sort of more funny. I mean, they're sort of. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess they're a little creepy if they start staring at you, but like
I mean, I guess, but they're
not in a
cute.
"oh my god, this goat's gonna get me now" kind of way. Just in a like a "why are
No.
you staring at me, goat? I'm not garbage. You can't eat me." Um, so so anyway, yeah. So I started watching that Sabrina show, just like I thought you'd like to know about.
Yes, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you like it.
And I heard so because there was of course, it's based on the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina comic book,
Right?
which is also very good. But then they never really finished because I think they started doing the same people that did the comic book started doing the show. Um, but they might go back to the comic book now. So it's a win-win. It's
Oh,
good.
wow. So is the series over? Because I'll admit, the latest series came out gosh, some months ago now, probably maybe even last year. And I started it and then I moved over to watching other shows. And then I really moved over to watching other shows. And then my taste in TV took just a terrible, terrible turn. It was
Hmm.
always questionable, but now, wow, wow, bad things have happened in many areas of my life. The other
Sure.
night, I mentioned this on another show. Things are getting so bad. The other night, the thought crossed my mind, maybe I should get a perm.
Huh.
So there's really some alarming changes happening in my brain.
I am going to I'm going to go ahead and say don't get a perm.
I am with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the right advice, and I thank you.
Yeah, I normally I would never tell you how to dress or what to, I mean, I would sort of I would criticize it after the fact or chuckle behind your back. Me and all your
You'd
friend
call
all
all of
your
our
other
friends.
I would call
Yeah.
all of our
On the
friends and do
text chain you have with, like, all of our other mutual friends that
right.
you don't include me on so that you can talk about me.
Correct, except for that one time we accidentally included you and that was pretty awful. But
That was
um
really bad. I cried for, like, a week.
yeah. I mean, I guess don't read things that aren't intended for you, even if they go to you accidentally. That's just a sort of a moral principle. If I left my diary at your house, you wouldn't necessarily it wouldn't be
But you
moral of
didn't
you to read that.
copy me
So,
in on your diary,
well, I'm just saying, it's your fault regardless.
as is everything.
I would not tell you normally not to do something, but or even suggest. But in this case, I'm going to say don't get a perm.
Yeah,
Plus,
definitely.
is
I
that even
will
legal? Like,
always.
are the chemicals even
Right?
legal
I
anymore? I'm
know.
not sure.
Yeah, and that is why anybody who said, like, "I wanna get a perm," I would be like, "Please don't get a perm.
Yeah,
Please don't do that to yourself. Don't get a perm."
it seems bad.
Yeah, I have no idea, and I was appalled that that idle thought just tumbleweeded its way through my mind, and I was like, "Wow, wow, 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 wow. This is really just not good."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do anything else, but don't do that.
Yeah, well,
All right.
yeah, I mean, it's one thing, like, buy a weird dress, go ahead, buy as many weird dresses as you want.
Yeah, because
Getting a
they're
perm,
not
though.
gonna. Yeah, they're not gonna. You can take them off.
Yeah, they're not going to damage your scalp.
Right. Right. They're
Yeah.
not gonna destroy the environment. I assume.
Right, I
I don't
mean,
know.
yeah, who knows?
I picture like again. I don't know. I guess there's
You
a lot
never
of
had to
hairs.
have one, because you're curly by nature, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I was back in the day when I had more hair, but I still am a little bit. But I guess
Yeah,
if I
and when
let
it
it grow
grows
out,
out, it gets curly.
yeah, yeah, I was always very curly, but
That's
like thick,
nice.
thick curly. I never had beautiful ringlets like you might get if you got a perm. Yeah,
I
you don't
never
hear
had beautiful ringlets with a perm either.
if you, do people do perm? I mean, like, can you, I assume there's some sort of underground operation where you can go to get a perm
Yeah.
still, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, my hairdresser refuses
Okay.
and
Sure.
absolutely will not do a perm. You can beg her as much as you like. She will not do one because they're so bad. She says for your hair and your skin. She doesn't mention the environment, but
Right.
they're just terrible. But there are places. There are black market perm shops out there. I know people who get them. They get the illicit perms. I wonder, I bet you anything you can still get an Ogilvy home perm at the store.
I want is that I'm not sure that brand exists.
I This is maybe 7 years ago, but I know someone who gave herself a home perm, and then guess what happened?
Her hair fell out.
Yes, it all broke and fell out.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. People used to do it all the time. You know, maybe hair was stronger back then.
I don't know. I think the home perms were always caustic and
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah. Huh.
And I think the salon perms were maybe not quite so damaging.
Well, I hope this conversation has taught you. I hope you've learned your lesson.
I learned my lesson when I was a child. I was a child with a perm.
You were a child with a perm?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I don't think I knew that.
My mom would make me and my sister get perms
Why? Were you
because they
bad?
look yeah, we're terrible children. Um no, because she thought they looked nice. So there are a lot of pictures of me as a young person with the exact hairstyle that, for example, my grandmother was also sporting.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And the last perm I was forced to get was right before graduation because my sister was getting married and I was in the wedding. And my mom was like, "You are getting a perm for your sister's wedding." I was so upset.
No, because I, because this. I need pictures.
Well, you've seen pictures on my social media of me on graduation day.
I guess it never occurred to me. I guess I just now I need to recontextualize it with knowing that it was a perm.
It was a
Maybe I thought
perm, yeah.
maybe I thought you just had curly hair back then.
Yeah, and what I did, this upset my mother no end because perms aren't cheap also. But I was so incredibly upset. And the thing with a perm is you're not supposed to like wash or condition your hair for a a matter of time afterwards so that those chemicals can really really absorb like into your entire hair and make it break.
Sure.
But so I immediately put like a bottle of conditioner on my newly permed hair. So it did relax it a little bit, but not nearly enough.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been Perm Talk. I want to thank you all for
With Ross and Heather.
tuning in. We're going to talk about perms. Um, this is fascinating. I could go on about this all day, but I don't know if people are going to agree with me. You want to get to some nasty stuff?
Yes, let's do it.
Not good nasty, but like
No,
bad,
we
unpleasant
got we
nasty.
gotta yeah, no, we gotta come on, we're the SOT.
So
We can't just
we
have a light chat.
so we talked about the stuff involving critical race theory, and I hate to even call it critical race. I don't know what else to call it to draw attention to it, because I hate even calling it like critical race, because you know part of our conversation, as I think anybody who's looked into this knows, this is a big shell game. This whole idea of like critical race theory. So this is this idea that in particularly in certain states, I guess it's the idea that I'm going to because I think it's designed to be slippery, so it's hard to even
Mhm.
figure out where to start talking about it, because it's sort of designed to, so you can't come at it at any angle that makes sense. But basically, it's the what's going on right now is the idea that, say in Tennessee, all the third grade teachers are sneaking off, are like putting in their workday at school, and then they're sneaking off after hours, and they're going to probably elite universities up north, you know. They're probably going to like some kind of, they're sneaking off, they're getting onto some kind of bus, perhaps for
Mhm.
convenience, and driving off to, Harvard or Yale or something like that. Some sort of, probably Berkeley, actually. They're probably going to Berkeley. That makes more sense.
Yeah, probably Berkeley.
And taking courses in critical race theory all night, on nights and weekends when they're not teaching their classes, and then coming back to rural Tennessee and indoctrinating the children with critical race theory, which is, of course, this highly academic lens through which you might view, in the real world, critical race theory is a sort of an academic lens that you might view um, history, American history, or social, social sciences sort of thing. It's a it's a lens from which you might study history or current affairs, and it's essentially the idea that racism and racial sort of topics have an impact on just about everything that goes on in our culture, which I think is 100% legit. I also think
Yeah.
that third grade teachers from Tennessee and all these states that are passing these anti-critical race theory laws are probably it's they're probably not spending all their free time studying critical race theory so that they can indoctrinate the children when they get back to work the next day.
Yeah, and from what I understand, isn't critical race theory an actual theory in like the meaning of theory, so to speak? I'm thinking of, for example, linguistics, which is not something that your average everyday person really understands when you get to that level of theory.
Yeah, I mean it's a lens through which academic type people would look at. So, people writing papers in universities and things are, this is
Hmm.
a, yeah, it's a real thing, but it's a
Yeah.
again, the word theory gets, people don't know what that means. Um and it means different things in different contexts. So, but in this case it's a particular way of studying, you know, current events in history. It's a particular way to look at things. Um and in those sort of academic contexts, although I think it is a particularly valid way of looking at things. Like anything in this sort of academic context, it's not presented as the only way of looking at things. It's an angle from which to study things. Um, but this has become what this has become, and it's alarming. And some of these stories are alarming. It has become a anything that has to do with Black people, we're not allowed to talk about. So what's basically happened is, in these states that are passing these anti-critical race theory laws, there's no specificity about what you can and can't talk about. So in one state that we talked about last time, it was, and a couple of them have similar ideas, it was anything that would make white people feel bad about their race, which is very broad. So these are some examples of some things that have gone on in just the past like week and a half, because this is sort of this is sort of come up. So to sort of preface this again, what seems to be happening here is, people made up this idea that critical race theory is imbuing our schools, and all the children all over the country, all the teachers are teaching is that white people are bad, and Black people are oppressed, and that is literally all anybody's being taught. That is, like, there's nothing like that, like math. Nobody's teaching math. I mean, this is very anti-teacher as well. I mean, in the sense that
Yes.
it assumes some sort of insidious plot on the part of teachers. Marjorie Taylor Greene says that any teacher who's teaching anything that has anything to do with critical race theory should be immediately fired on the spot by, I guess, monitors or some sort of robots that would monitor this sort of thing. And that the teachers, because teachers unions are sort of gearing up for um legal, I mean, there are already, I'll give you some examples, there are already some teachers that have been fired, some teachers that have lost their jobs over
Wow.
this. So teachers unions, which as is their jobs, are gearing up for legal action on these things. And she says they're Marjorie Taylor Greene says those are communist. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says these are communist organizations that need to be disbanded. So we need to disband all the teachers unions. All of if we don't pass laws blocking our teachers from doing this, they're going to teach, they're not going to teach math, they're not going to teach um they're not going to teach science, they're not going to teach any history that's not about, it's going to be all slavery, all day, every day in the classrooms if we don't stop this right away. Which, of course, we know slavery is over and should best be forgotten. It seems to be the point of view. But I'll go into some of these. So, um, this was in Tennessee. Tennessee seems to be a hotbed for some of this. This is Sullivan County. So a teacher named Matthew Hahn was just fired. He's been tenured in the Sullivan County Sullivan County School District since 2008. He teaches a class in called Contemporary Issues. He got his first warning when he assigned students an article by Ta-Nehisi Coates. That was his first warning. And then later he showed a video of a spoken word poem by Kyla Janae Lacey. So for for that second offense of showing a work by a black poet, he's been terminated. The Board of Education voted 6-1 to terminate him from his position. With no real, I was sort of looking for like, what is the even the justification here? I try to look for, even if I know it's going to be BS, I try to look for, okay, what are they saying? How are they trying to justify it? And there really was not really any effort other than, of course, we are not racist here and it is okay to discuss black history, but they didn't like these, the argument. So the first strike with the Ta-Nehisi Coates article was that it seemed to portray President Trump in a negative light. And the second piece, they just objected nebulously, vaguely to the language of it. We didn't like some of the language in it. And again, so the whole point of this class is this is a contemporary issues class where they're supposed to bring up controversial topics. There was a lot of outcry from students, current and past, but again, 6-1, he was removed from his job. A West Virginia school.
Chilling.
Oh, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much going on with voting rights now, which is equally important, on a very high level of importance that's equal, if not superior. But I mean, it's super chilling. And I think the goal with a lot of this stuff is it's going to make teachers think twice. You've got teachers who either were not going to teach about this stuff, not going to teach about, not going to teach true facts about American history anyway, and this is going to give them cover. We talked about, we talked last time about some of the textbooks where it's like I forget the state, but it was, slavery was bad because here's the story of or the Civil War was bad because here's the story of a plantation, a rich plantation white lady who lost her plantation because of the Civil War. I mean, that's a current textbook that people are learning from. So, there's already a dearth of black history and the history of pretty much any people of color in the United States. So this is going to give people, and then it's going to make people who would be more inclined to, who might be more inclined to teach a more realistic, balanced sort of history. It's going to make them think twice because you're going to say, is it worth losing my job? What's the point of, getting my one lesson in if tomorrow I'm fired, a West Virginia school had a program called Black Math Genius, which was sort of a, not remedial. It was sort of like a side program. I don't know what you call it. I haven't been to school in a while, so I don't know what this thing, but it was like a secondary type of, it was a class you could take that wasn't necessarily a requirement. And it was basically, they were doing, Um, they were doing math, but the focus was on African and African American mathematicians, people of importance, and they were sort of, from what I gather, they were teaching the math, but they were focusing on, there was a focus on, again, African or African American contributions to mathematics and the history of mathematics. That program has been canceled because there was an outcry. There was an outcry from parents. Um,
It's
Black math
terrible.
genius is part of critical race theory, and it's meant to divide the people. As you can see, we're divided. If you give special privileges to a group of people because of their skin color, it's discrimination, said one woman at the meeting. The article, which was from The Root, sort of notes, Riley, that no one at the meeting seemed to know what the class was about. Um, they thought it was about how, they just assumed it was about how white people are stupid and only black people can do math or something like that. It's also open to, the class is also open to anyone. So it was not, there were
Uh-huh.
white people in the class as well.
Right.
So that program's been canceled. Um, uh, Rydell Harrison, who was a principal in Connecticut, sorry, a school superintendent in southwestern Connecticut. He he had started, there was with the George Floyd murders, there was a lot of community interest in, at the time there were a lot of students and alumni who wanted to, look at how the education system could approach these things, talk about these things, blah blah blah. So he helped set up a task force to figure out, what they could do about that. That sort of overlapped into this critical race theory situation. He quit. Basically, he said it sort of started with the riot at the Capitol. Suddenly, so this is a black gentleman. I should. That's an important piece of context here. It was decided that people were complaining about his agenda. He has this anti-white agenda. He's an activist pushing to indoctrinate people. Suddenly, everything they were doing with this task force became about critical race theory. Everything he was doing, he says, became about critical race theory because he's a black person. So obviously, everything he's doing has to do with he's living, breathing, drinking critical race theory. So everything he's doing. So he quit. He was like, I can't do my. He basically said, I can't do my job. I can't get anything done. I can't. There's no. I don't feel like I'm accomplishing anything because it's nonstop. I mean, it was constant. From what he was describing, it was basically constant harassment. And then the last piece I have here, which was, I think, sort of the most chilling. So, this is in blah 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 blah. So sorry, I got a lot here. So this is we went back to Tennessee. Um, the Tennessee. Sorry, I had my notes organized here. So the there's a group called Moms for Liberty,
Oh
which,
boy.
by the
Oh
sound of
boy, we
that.
always know it's a great group when it's moms for something or moms against it.
Yeah, so they have a whole list of books that they want removed from the curriculum. They want banned, and apparently this is going to happen. So among the books, so some of the so the listing for the whole list of books was behind a paywall at the Tennessean, which is the newspaper where this originally came from. But so so there are a couple books. So there's one about, again, there are a couple books that I know about. There's a whole list, but I just don't have the whole list because I wasn't going to pay money to the Tennessean to find out what they were. Um, One was called "Separate is Never Equal," which is just sort of a young adult or child's history of the Supreme Court decision to end segregation. um, but the one of the big ones was Ruby Bridges Goes to School, which is an award-winning children's book by Ruby Bridges herself. Ruby Bridges the first the first black child, the first black child to integrate New Orleans school system. And there's sort of a famous picture of her going to school with a big crowd screaming at her. So she has a book about, her experience. So that they are looking to ban, and that will apparently be banned. And again, the premise is that this, it's literally that it's the quote, the large crowd of angry white people who didn't want black children in a white school was too harsh, and that it didn't offer redemption to the white people in the end.
Why
That
should
was
it
sort of a
offer
direct quote.
redemption to white people in the end? That's not what happened in real life.
Well, and again, it sort of gets you to the point. Yeah, I mean, that's why I say this is so slippery, because there's no logic to fight here in a sense. I mean, this,
No.
and and this also isn't it's not ancient history. I mean, Ruby Bridges has an Instagram. You can go to her website, and you can hire her to come speak at your school or university. She's you know she's she's not an old person. She's not even
No,
a
this
particularly
isn't.
old person. um
Yeah, this isn't something that happened 500 years ago. And the perversion of actual real facts
yeah,
of American history is really, really frightening.
yeah. So I meant to make that I meant to make those examples a little more concise, but it gets my it gets my bile up. I mean, it really does, because it's chilling. It's censorship, it's book banning, it is rewriting history uh to erase, to erase black people, to erase, and I guess to erase the idea that anything bad ever happened to black people, which I guess if you can do that, then you're rewriting the present, and you're saying, well, then what do black
Right.
people
If
have to
nothing bad
complain about
happened
now?
then, right, nothing bad is happening now, which is also just not true.
So, I mean, you chose the perfect word when you said chilling. The whole thing is, and this is just the tip. I mean, these laws, those are just a few examples from like the past week or two. And these laws have just gotten started getting passed. And these are, I mean, again, these are laws. These are laws being passed by states saying that you're not allowed to talk about, essentially, you're not allowed to tell the truth about Black history. Um,
Right.
which we do such a great job of anyway. I mean,
Well, that's the thing.
this
We
is already a
discussed
pretty low
before
bar.
that, yeah, growing up, we got a lot of American citizens had this and American citizens had that. There was like this Jim Crow thing, but it wasn't good, but it's done, so don't worry about it
It's
too
done. It's
much.
over.
Yeah. I mean, it was bad. It was bad, but it's over. It's not a thing anymore, so don't worry about it. But
Yeah.
I guess now that can't even be mentioned.
I mean, potentially, I mean, this is the thing. If you're a teacher, if you're a teacher in one of these several states at this point, Texas is doing some of the same things. People have also talked about how this impacts the even if you're not in one of these states, this impacts the textbook industry. I mean, this impacts how
It does,
textbooks get
yeah.
written, because textbook manufacturers are going to make decisions based on, well, if we can't sell this book in all these states, uh, you know, we're going to see things scrubbed there. And again, you're going to see, there are teachers who are going to be willing to step out on the line and possibly lose their job, like this Matthew Hahn. They're going to be perfectly reasonable.
Right.
It's hard 100% for me to say I blame them. Like, thinking real hard before bringing up these topics, knowing that there's a good chance you can lose you're going to lose your job.
Right.
That's a hard
Yeah, and
position to put anybody in.
right. And I really can't sit here and point fingers going like, well, they just need to do what's right and tell the truth. Cuz can be really hard to find a job.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're, you know, great, you've lost your job, maybe you can get a job and maybe you could get a teaching license in a different state, but you've lost your
Right.
job. So with what money? I mean, that's a tough. I think there are teachers who are going to be fine with this and have no issue. There are
Oh,
teachers
of
who,
course. Yeah.
yeah. um, I think there are teachers that are going to have a very hard time with this, and then I think there are going to be a lot of people who are like, I don't know what to do now. Like,
Right.
and they're probably going to censor themselves at least a little bit. If you can't, if if Ta-Nehisi Coates got somebody fired, um, because you can't say anything critical about President Donald Trump. I have a feeling that if this were something critical about, say, President Obama,
I
probably
think
would
that
not
that
have been
would
the
be
same reaction.
fine. No, I think you're absolutely right. And that is also really, really upsetting that in a current events controversial issues class, even just that some people really didn't like Trump
Right.
is a thing that cannot be mentioned.
Right.
And now apparently people are losing their jobs because they brought up something in a current events controversial issues class that was like, also some people really didn't support the president.
Yeah.
And then that person loses their job. When again, that is, even if the, and I bet the teacher wasn't sitting there going like, and yeah, everybody hated Trump. Let's scream bad words about Trump right now. It's still historical fact that not every US citizen was in full support of President Trump.
I mean, I didn't see, so I'll just say about this teacher, I didn't see anything. And again, I only read a couple articles, and some of the articles and a couple of the articles I saw were like based on the original articles. So it's a limited fact pool here. But the reporting from the Tennessean and then from other sources, all the students that they talked to, the things that came up over and over again where people were saying like, no, he's very, always found him very balanced and very fair, and let us, tried to let us form our own opinions, et cetera, et cetera. So it did not seem to be the case that this was some firebrand,
Right.
like,
Wow. Wow. Oh boy.
and again, I don't know
Whew.
how, you know, if a school district, and this is sort of the home area of my people, so I guess I don't want to get too like, this is where a lot of my family's from, at least on my father's side, this specific area. So I will say this with a little bit of knowledge. I don't know that this person would have lasted since 2008 in this school district if he were this fire breathing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
liberal
Right.
liberal ween. If he were the Sound of Tomorrow, I don't know that he would have made
Right.
it, since again he's been tenured
Yeah.
tenured since 2008. So I don't know that he would have made it this far.
Understood. Yeah. I
Yep.
don't know that. I mean, I definitely know there are towns in which I don't think we would be that welcome.
Yeah. So I don't
Loud
know.
and incestuous as we are.
Loud and incestuous. Yeah, that's our new motto. In case you missed the beginning of the show, because Ross forgot how to use words. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what I mean. Like I said, I said this before, and I'll say it again. Your word chilling is, I can't think of a better word, because it's alarming, and I think we're so uneducated about, we've talked about liberal weenie me. I'm constantly learning new stuff about black history, not to mention black
Yes.
present. I mean, in America, those
Right.
are very interrelated things. But Mr. y- you know two relatively thoughtful people, I think, Mr. History
We
Nerd
try.
here, who's, I am still at my advanced age, advanced
Oh, you're
age,
so young.
learning. I still feel like I'm constantly um undoing the lack
Yes.
of education that I got as a child. Um and I didn't live in particularly, I mean, I lived in, I didn't live in particularly in, I guess I didn't live in the most overtly racist parts of the country, I'll say. But I still, it was just so limited, the information that I ever got. I just feel like I'll spend my whole life trying to undo that. A- And
Yeah,
now we're
most
going backwards.
definitely. Right. And you wonder how far is it going to go, because I had always had the hope. And again, I'm not a teacher. I don't have kids in school, so I don't know exactly what kids are learning in history and if they take any kind of classes on society or anything. But my hope had always been like, I I hope that this has been modernized and there's a lot more Black history being told,
Yeah.
and it's a lot less of the like, well, and then there was slavery, which was really bad, but forget about that. Moving on.
Hmm. Yeah, it was always treated
Uh,
as a sideline. It was
right.
never,
Just
it was never treated as part of the main story. It was always
no.
treated as a sideline. And no matter
Right.
how good the teachers were, or no matter how sincere the teachers were, um, and I had some very good, very sincere teachers, but it always, looking back especially, it always felt like I was always taught to treat it as a separate narrative and
Yes.
not something, not part of the main narrative. The primary
Mhm.
narrative is like the founders signed the thing, and then the thing, and then Abraham Lincoln, it sort of ties together with Abraham Lincoln, like that narrative, those narratives kind of run together, and then they sort of separate again. And the civil rights movement was sort of a separate narrative. And then we fixed it, and then it was just never,
Yes.
it was never one thing. It was always, there's American history, and then there's Black history over here.
Yep. Yeah, and there would be like a separate chapter, but you probably wouldn't talk about it for too long,
Yeah.
and you definitely wouldn't talk about it as American history.
Right. Right. and
Like
and it
just US history. And it is US history.
Yeah, and it was always the same faces, like we talked about last time. You might see Harriet Tubman and blah blah blah, people that deserve to be. I mean, I think
Definitely.
the people that I learned about, I don't think there's anyone that doesn't, there's no one on that list that doesn't deserve to be learned about. um I could, we could go on about Harriet Tubman all day.
Mhm.
But there were also other people. She wasn't the only Black
Yeah.
person. She wasn't the only
Right.
Black lady.
Yeah.
So
Oh
it's
boy.
it's dumb. Um, I don't know. So I don't know what to do about that. I guess, one of the things is, if you are if you're a parent with, particularly with children, I don't know how much our voices are useful here, except to sort of ring the bell. But if you're a parent with children in school, if you have the opportunity to be vocal about these things at your school level, where you are a voice that people care about because they know you have kids in the school, you're a stakeholder there. I would say,
Mhm.
get yourself educated about this, and make sure your voice is heard on that, because like I said, we can ring the bell, but nobody really cares what we have to
Right.
say about what kids are getting taught. Like, it's not,
No. No, we
nor
don't
should
have a
they.
lot of sway there.
Right, right. If I show up at a school board meeting and I'm like, I've heard children are being taught things that I don't like, and they're like, well, where are your
Oh, well,
kids? I
you're
don't
right.
have them, don't like them, don't want them.
Yeah. He suddenly produces 2 dogs, and they're like, no, sir."
My dogs are going to be educated.
Oh my
My daughter is
gosh.
Black, technically. I mean,
It's true.
yeah. So Hey, why don't I let you take over? Maybe we can have a
Yeah,
couple minutes of fun before we.
right. Well, this is, I mean, this is kind of fun. This is definitely lighter.
I hope
So
it's more
I
about perms.
saw it kind of is, it kind of ties in
All right.
with weird beauty supplies and things like that. Because I've known about this, but I guess I didn't know it was a huge trend. This is an article by Savannah C. Curala from NPR, and it's entitled Clean Beauty Products Are a Marketing Triumph.
Okay.
And I can just kind of sum up this clean beauty trend by reading to you the cool clean beauty label, because this actually, I have this bottle here of a facial mist that I bought that says 100% clean beauty on it.
Okay.
And so this reassures me that there are 0% parabens, 0% alcohol, 0% SLS, 0% propylene glycol, mineral oil, 0% TEA, 0% formaldehyde, 0% sulfate, MIT, triclosan, cool tar, 0%.
Oh,
And
I was hoping I could
I
get some of
did
that cool.
not, I know, right? Because cool tar. I mean, I'm like, please give me the beauty products with cool tar.
Right. Think you'd
And
want that.
also, if you feel like calling me cool tar, I'm there. I'm
Yeah.
there. So the article is like, doesn't this sound great? We have clean beauty products. Doesn't that make it sound like these things are going to be so much better for your skin because they're pure and natural? And it does. We all, that it is a great marketing
Oh, I'm
tool
told.
to say
I
this is,
I have a feeling I know where this is going, but I'll just say I am 100% drawn to stuff like this. Like that is where. Yep. Absolutely.
yep, me too, absolutely. I see like, ooh, all natural, and it goes with all kinds of things, beauty products, shampoos, things to eat,
Yep.
everything like, oh, all natural, no additives, zero processing. But what it turns out is that there are things in some clean beauty products that can be damaging to your skin. And there are also certain things like certain oils and certain butters that if they're not processed, they're bad for your skin, but processing renders them fit to be helpful for your skin. And so then another part of the clean beauty thing is when I was reading through that label, did you know what most of those things were?
No, like I've heard a couple of them. I've heard of a couple of them,
You
but
know, the important ones to me, alcohol isn't good for my skin. Like I
okay.
should not put that. I should drink that. I shouldn't put that on my skin. Um so that for me, like that's important because I know that'll cause like problems
Hmm.
for my complexion. But I keep seeing that things have no parabens.
Yeah.
I don't know what a paraben is, but that's a big one. People are always like, "Oh, this doesn't have parabens." And I'm like, "Awesome."
I'm
And then I
so
realized like
glad.
I don't know what a paraben is. I don't know what TEA is.
I like tea.
I That's the thing, if there's tea in it, I would think that would be good for my skin.
Right.
I don't know what MIT is besides the school, but I
Right.
wouldn't expect that in my facial mist. So the long and short of the article again was just this is a gimmick. Sometimes these products are good. And of course, I mean, I think almost everybody likes to try new products, but I think there is an idea with the clean beauty. If you start using something that's bad for your skin, but it's all like, no, it's clean beauty, you get this idea that, like, oh, my skin must just have to adjust to this. I would say pay attention to the cues your body is giving you. And if you try the clean beauty thing and it just makes you break out really badly immediately, it may be as clean as you like. It may not be. It may not be clean at all because what is clean? What is this adjective when it comes to a facial mist anyway?
No, that's smart advice. That's really smart because I think, yeah, there's probably a little bit of a tendency to be like, the problem is not if you buy something that makes you break out or makes your, you walk away with a rash. The problem is not your skin at that point. The problem is the product.
Yeah.
And it might just be the way your skin reacts to that particular product. Maybe it's fine for 99.9% of everybody else, but regardless, there are plenty of beauty products on the market. It's fun. It reminds me of when we, a couple years back when there was that brief deadly raw water craze that we had talked about.
Yes.
Or like the um like unpasteurized dairy products and things like where
At
it's a
least
different
with those, they
issue.
apparently, like the unpasteurized dairy apparently tastes a lot better.
Maybe, I mean, or do people just say that? I don't know. I'm
I've
not
heard
gonna.
like with cheese and stuff in Europe, it tastes so good because the cheese hasn't had all the milk like cooked at high temperatures.
Maybe it's fine. Maybe it's
But with
lovely.
the raw water, that's a
Yeah.
perfect, I think, analog to this.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, most of these products, pretty much anything with like any kind of a brand name that you're going to find in a store, it's been tested a million times. A million people have tried it. So, yes, you might have a reaction with anything. Some things are going to respond better to your skin. They're probably all fairly safe. Um, but this is a thing they do where they, it's almost like this arbitrary list of like, okay, we'll list out the things we don't have in here
Right.
and then put those on the label, and then the things we'll just say are clean and it's fine. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this does not have uranium. It does not have, this is
Right.
100% uranium free. This is this is platinum free. We don't have gold in here, or
Right.
there's
So
no
you won't
sheep's.
get any metal allergies. There's no
Right,
heavy metals in here.
there's no sheep's bladder. There's no, I mean, like you could just make a list of like,
Yeah.
if you've got a list of 12 ingredients, then there are like a billion things that aren't in there, so you could just make that list and say the things that are in there are clean and it's fine. Because
Right.
there's no
Yeah.
definition. You're right, there's no, it's so I mean, in one way you despair because like how do you, like, what criteria do you even use for what's good and bad? And it's like you said, it probably comes down to like, well, is it good on your skin or not?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's kind of the common wisdom. It says in the article that if you have been taking care of your skin, if you're an old enough person that you've tried a lot of different products and you've found a combo that works for you, you know what your skin needs. You know
Mm-hmm.
what makes it feel good. You know what makes it look the way you want it to. And then, of course, there is always the advice of if your skin is not looking the way you want it to, and you're able to, you have enough health insurance for a visit like this and things like that, it can be good to consult with a dermatologist
Yeah.
or even a cosmetologist because sometimes you might not know, like, why am I dry here and oily here? There's a lot of different products, but you just test them out. This clean label doesn't make anything better. Cosmetic chemist Perry Romanowski says, I see clean beauty as a cynical marketing ploy to get customers to be afraid of conventional products and spend more money on products that cost more, don't actually work better, and actually aren't safer for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't even know if I judge it that harshly. I mean, I feel like
I don't, and I'm
everybody's,
pointing the finger at myself because I fall for this.
I fall for
Ooh,
it too.
clean, all natural. You know what all natural doesn't mean? It doesn't mean it doesn't have chemicals in it because everything's a chemical.
Everything's a chemical, and cow manure is also all natural. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
like there's not,
right.
I mean, I guess it depends on the cow, I suppose, but um,
True.
you know, uh and it doesn't, the cow manure is all natural and doesn't have triclosan. So it's great. You might as well just put that on your
Right.
face. But you're, I can't even point the finger at these companies because everybody's looking for an angle of something that's going to draw your eye and make you the combination of words that's going to make you buy the product. So
Yep. I
I don't
know.
know.
I can't blame anyone. I think I mostly brought this article for me going, that's you.
Yep.
Heather, look at that. That's you. Look at that clean beauty you have. Buy your computer so you can mist your face while you work.
And I'm probably going to keep doing it.
100% clean. Oh, me too. I know.
Probably going to keep doing it.
But at least now I'll have in mind, like, hey, this is a marketing ploy you're falling for. And then I can say to myself, hey, that's all right. This is a marketing ploy I want to fall for.
And you know what? Intentionally now going for the ones that don't say clean, because that is also a marketing ploy. So I mean, it's like,
I know, right?
there's really no
It's all right.
winning.
I just like to know what ploys I'm falling for. You know
That's fair.
what ploy I fall for every single week?
Perms.
Yeah. It's not even a ploy, Ross. It's a fantastic program called Music Matters that's coming up right now, right after The Sound of Tomorrow, right here on WAYO LP Rochester. So stay tuned and thanks for tuning in. They really should do Cat Week on TV, though. Do you think I could get them to do a documentary on Nigel? He really is fascinating.
Would a camera crew just like follow him around your house? Is that?
Yeah, and they could interview us. I am always interviewing Nigel on a number of fascinating topics.
Oh, let me guess. So at least 4 times a day, you ask him how many fangs he has.
How did you know?
Because every week is Heather week at my house.
Aww, I love you too.
Yeah, it's great. Go get your perm.